this is the weight we carry. And if we don't have a space where we can offload this weight, then we will be burned out. More knowledge won't help you if you're carrying it alone. You don't need more strategies, you need support. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Dr. O here. Listen, I'm here to help you steward early childhood well because you shouldn't have to do this work alone. So if you're ready for real support and not just more strategies, make sure you join our community, Dr. O's Learning Lab. Link will be somewhere in this post in the comments below. On our last video, we talked about how teaching in isolation is actually leading to burnout. So, what's causing your burnout is the fact that you're isolated and you need community. So, that's what we talked about last week. And in this video this week, I want to talk about why you don't need more strategies. You need support. Oftentimes, when teachers are feeling at the end of our rope and when we're feeling burnt out and when we're feeling like we don't know what to do, you know what we do? We take another class, we take another PD, we get more certifications. Trust me, how do I know? Because I am the go to school junkie, right? If I'm feeling a certain way or if I'm feeling insufficient in my teaching, if I'm feeling like I need help in my classroom, if I'm feeling like this is a little bit chaotic, my go to is there's got to be a course for that. There's got to be a PD for that. And again, there's nothing wrong with PD. There's nothing wrong with courses. I'm a professional development specialist. It's what I do. But what I found is that these courses didn't necessarily fix the problem. They were temporary band-aids. They made me feel good in the moment, and I was able to implement those strategies. But over time, without support, those strategies did not help. Those strategies did not save me from the feelings of this job is killing me. I can't do this anymore. As early childhood educators, we have sat through countless professional developments. We've sat through countless courses. I have a PhD, the highest level of education that one can receive. So I know about going to school. I know about sitting in classes. And again, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it is not enough. Strategies without support means nothing. Strategies without support become surface level solutions. Strategies without support set students up to struggle. You don't need more strategies. What you need is support. We already know how to lesson plan. We already know how to manage a classroom. We already know how to teach. So that's not what we need. But what about this? What about the parent who questions everything you do? Who thinks that your classroom is Burger King and they should have it their way? How do you deal with that? What about the coworker who doesn't share your values and all of a sudden now you're being judged as not a team player because you don't necessarily want to participate in all the outside of school staff activities because of your own beliefs? And what about the days when you're emotionally drained before 10 a.m.? Strategies won't fix any of this. You know what will? Support. Because the real challenge isn't what we're teaching, it's what we're carrying. And many of us are carrying the weight and the burden of not just what our students and families are going through, but what about what we personally are going through? Loss, divorce, evictions, hunger. And some of us have even faced being unhoused and have a full time job because of the pay. But we're not going to go there in this video because that's a real thing. How am I going to pay my rent this month is weighing heavy on me as I go into this classroom full of 2 and 3 year olds. And now my coworkers tripping, my administrators tripping, and these parents are tripping. Like, if we don't deal with the very real weight that we carry, we are just, I guess, putting icing on a cake that is baked with arsenic, for lack of a better analogy. The cake is still going to kill you. I don't care how much icing you put on a cake that has poison in it. You got to get the poison out the cake so that you won't die. Okay, that's all I had. That's the only analogy that popped in my head, but we're going to keep it real on this channel. Listen, you need support when going through these things. And you know what support looks like? Support looks like having a space where you can honestly say, this is hard. Support is having a space where you can honestly say, I don't think I'm going to make it. Support is having a place where you can say, these kids get on my nerves. And the response is not, oh, you're such a bad teacher. Oh, well, you just need to lock in, or you just need to use your strategies. That's why your classroom management is difficult, because you're not tapping into the principles of conscious discipline. No shade to conscious discipline, because I love it and it is amazing. But conscious discipline won't work when you're carrying all these burdens and you have no outlet and no support. So you have the strategy, but you don't have the support that you need. You don't have someone there to say, you know what? I understand. And I've been there. And let me tell you something. I understand. And I've been there. To the parent who questions everything, listen, I got stories for days. But one parent in particular was really giving me a hard time. And I was a very new teacher. And it was like, it didn't matter that I had a degree. It didn't matter that this was now my, I think, fifth year teaching. This parent, it was like nothing that I did worked. And I was like trying to, talk with this parent and trying to reason with this parent. And it wasn't until I sat in my third teacher conference with my team leader, who was an amazing support. He's still on my Christmas card list till this day. He was an amazing support to me. And I went to him and I said, listen, can you just sit in this parent teacher conference with me? Because I feel like this lady talks down to me. I feel like there's nothing I can say, nothing I can show to prove that I'm using best practices and best strategies with her child. I just don't understand. I love and enjoy her child being in my classroom, but she just seems to think that she's better than me because she worked at some high powered engineer. And she was just like, well, why are you doing it? Was almost like every teacher conference was an evaluation of my ability to teach. And that got to be very, very hard. And say what you want, if the parents give you drama, it's going to negatively impact how you educate that child. It is what it is. You can debate somebody else, because that child is a direct reflection of that parent. You see that child every day, and then you're triggered because you remember how that parent is consistently treating you like you don't have a whole professional degree. And so I had to my team leader, and I just really poured my heart out to him. And he said, you know what, Miss Jones? Yes, it was Miss Jones at the time. This is pre-marriage, people. I'm going to sit in the conference with you. He sat in the conference with me. And the minute she went on the tirade that was definitely belittling me, he straight called her out in a way that I couldn't, in a way that I didn't even have the seniority, the vocabulary, or the prowess, because he did it with such professionalism and class. And he checked that woman, and I never had an issue with her again. No strategy that you would have given me could have helped with that situation. I needed support. I needed someone else to step in. I also had to have a safe space to say that this is what I was dealing with, and for him not to judge me, for him not to say, "Oh, you're just reading too much into it," or, "Oh, this parent, that she means well. It's no big deal. If the child still loves your classroom and she's not pulling the child out, don't even worry about it." It wasn't any of that. It was complete validation for how I felt treated, and not only validation, but it was support. And I couldn't get that in a PD, but I got that in a community. And some of you are working in schools where you can't find that type of support. That's why we built one. That's what's missing. It's the support. And so inside our community, Will we share best practices for pedagogy and things like that? We can, but that's not the point. The point is to provide a safe space for real support, for you to say with a straight face, I don't think conscious discipline is culturally appropriate and it's not working with my Black and brown kids. And for someone to come to you and say, okay, I can see how you would feel that way. Let's talk about what you're doing. How are you implementing the strategies? Let's talk about what's working, what's not working. What can we tweak to fit your students? Versus someone coming for your neck because you said conscious discipline wasn't culturally appropriate. Now, caveat, I think conscious discipline is amazing and I think it works on all students, but the way you implement it for student A and for student B may be very different. And I think it has little to do with race, creed, and culture and more to do with these students are individual. You got to know your students. So you got the conscious discipline strategy, you tried it, it backfired. Let's go back to the drawing board and see what we may be able to tweak in order to make it work because it works. Not someone coming up to you saying, I can't believe you said that. This is the number one research, blah, 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 blah. Bruh, I don't need you to come for me because these feelings are real. And this is what I talked about earlier. This is the weight we carry. And if we don't have a space where we can offload this weight to people who will say, I understand, let's talk about it, then we will be burned out and we will leave this profession when we're called to be here. Because everybody who watches my channel, who stays to the end, you know you're called to teach. This is more than a profession for you. This is a calling. This is your life's work. And you know you're called to it. But how can you pour from an empty vessel? You can't. How can you teach from a space of burnout? You can't. And so that is why we created this community so that you have a safe space to offload what you're carrying. Because, baby girl, baby boy, you don't need more strategies. You need support, and support is waiting for you inside the community. So, if you found value in this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and join our community. Dr. O's Learning Lab, the link is in the post because support changes everything. Remember, real growth never happens in isolation, it only happens in community. So, join me in the next video where I'm going to share what the hardest part of teaching is. And the hardest part of teaching is not the children. It's not what you think it is. All right, we'll see you next time.